that cost up significantly. If we're looking at moving away from the moving away from the treatment plant, in my opinion, if that's the direction the board wants to go, then my opinion would be that we need to move to 1271 Mission Street, where it can be converted to a space usable by utility staff, which have a vastly different mission than the fire department. It also provides enough space to have space for everybody to have their own space and not be sitting at basically the same desk, talking over each other to talk on the phone. I imagine that the board, or at least the majority of the board, has been in our office that we have currently, trying to talk to myself or Tamara or Michelle or whoever, and Kinsey's there trying to do her work and try to talk on the phone, and she can't really do her job because people are in the office talking, and just talking at a normal level creates a distraction for her and makes it hard for her to hear. So having people sitting basically on top of each other is not productive at all.
Okay, but 1271, that's actually, I'm just asking different questions for different options.
Mm-hmm.
But I personally think 1271 is the place to move the office and the staff and so on. And we need to get rid of that double wide down there, and you can get a contractor's trailer park in there. It wouldn't cost much. You've got restrooms and offices in that one building back there, you know, so I'm talking about for the help. I'm not talking about the girls.
So we don't have the girls and the help. We have operators and administrators.
Well, all right, I'm sorry.
But I agree. If we're going to move, then in my opinion, 1271 Mission Street is our best option if we want to move in the near future.
Do we own that building that we're talking about?
We don't own that building. My stance for this entire discussion has been that if we're going to move somewhere, that we should own the building we move in to limit our long-term costs with rent. If it's the board's desire to move to rent there, then we'll work towards that angle.
Well, we don't own the one you're in now.
Well,
no.
we're supposed to be in the trailer we're in now, but we own the property that it's on.
Well, that's true.
And we could very easily own the trailer.
Yeah, but
so long term, looking into the future, not very far, within the next year, we are projected to be under construction for the wastewater treatment plant, which is going to require either myself or engineers or whoever to have some sort of space there, which means that if we have a construction trailer, it's going to have a space big enough for them to do work or me to do work. If we're going to have people there in a trailer like that, then either we need to do other improvements to the treatment plant to provide an ADA accessible space, or we need to have something similar to what we have now that has an ADA bathroom and ADA ramp and connects to our already existing ADA parking spot.
well, I think that double wide down there, you got public going in and out of there, and I think it's a safety hazard, because like I said, if you can smell it, there's something there.
That's very true. If you smell something, there's usually something there.
Yeah.
But the comment was made multiple times that it's okay for the operators to be there because they're quote unquote trained.
Right.
But the air that they breathe is not any different than the air that anybody else around there breathes. So they're not immune just because they're trained from breathing the same air. So although I do share the concern that we need to protect our staff and protect our public, it is still a wastewater treatment plant. If you drive by Pasto's, you can smell it halfway through Paso.
Yeah, but they don't have their offices that.
Have you been there?
Yes, they do.
They do.
Yes,
They have a nice building.
People don't go to that treatment plant to pay their bill.
To be fair, I was coming back from Paso yesterday and a school bus was pulling up for a school kids tour.
Well,
They
yeah.
have trailers.
I mean, it is, you
But
know,
they do have offices there, they do have administrative staff there, they have operators there, obviously.
yeah.
So, although I'm not gonna sit here, I'm not gonna waste our time arguing
No,
about whether we
I'm
need
not,
to move.
I'm
I'm
not,
just trying to get to a point where if we want to move to 1271, that we can come up with a plan to move there and we can, you know, we can start working down that path.
right. Okay.
I honestly think, I mean, this is, I can see where Director Davis has, you know, he is worried. But I mean, we don't have any complaints from the staff we have currently there, one. Two, within the same distance, there's homes right there. So what's the difference between having those homes, you know, 40 feet away, you have an office? I mean, there's those houses, people live in those homes. So I don't understand why we need to, you know, direct all this time, all this, essentially, you know, our staff's time to try to relocate them to another spot. We're just spending money at this point. I mean, what we have, if, you know, if it's not broke, it don't even fix it. We've been using this for how long now, Kelly? Have you guys utilized the space you're in right now at the plant?
So we've been there for almost 3 years. Or actually, well, February will be 3 years.
Okay, and I mean, in 3 years, I mean, I would feel if there was a problem, or if the staff was miserable, I mean, we'd have complaints. If we had people from the community going in there and just complaining, hey, I don't like it here, I can't do this. I mean, have we had any of those complaints from the community about the location of the plant?
We've had a couple complaints.
Okay. And was it complaints as far as where it was, or because of the environment of the office?
So we haven't had a complaint about the physical location,
Okay.
you know, having to go to that end of town.
Yeah.
In that sense. Mr. Campbell has made it very, very apparent that he does not appreciate us being there and that it's a hazard to everybody around. Other than him and potentially one other person that I've actually never seen at the treatment plant complaining about it, we haven't had an actual complaint, other than every once in a while we'll get a person from the public just saying that it smells bad. But to be fair, we've had more people say that they're surprised that it doesn't smell worse.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to say that it smells like, you know, a bouquet of roses there.
Yeah. It's a plant. It's
It
a
is a
waste.
treatment plant. And we are working towards making it a better, more efficient treatment plant, which theoretically would reduce the overall odor of the treatment plant.
I think was one of the points, is that even back when the idea was floated about having all of the general office staff located in the treatment plant, I wasn't the only board member who was opposed to that, because again, prior to that, the offices were centrally located right downtown at the time in the fire station, which wasn't ideal, I get it, but at least it was accessible by the public driving in and out of town on Mission, because it's right. I mean, everyone coming into town comes in on Mission. So I think that was really one of the biggest key things for wanting it to be somewhere downtown, aside from not having to go to the end of Bonita and into the treatment plant, smelling the treatment plant, et cetera, et cetera. I think that really the biggest message was that having the offices accessible and in a downtown location was, I think, the direction that we were going. And that, I'm not speaking for Director Davis or Director Green, he's passed and not with us, so I wouldn't want to speak for him. But that was my understanding of the gist of what the point of this exercise was.
And I can understand that point. And the one thing to note is that when we were at the fire station, pretty much everybody and their brother would come by and stop by just to say hi, which, as you can imagine, spent a ton of staff time. Since we've been at the treatment plant, it's not, you know, essentially on everybody's way home. So when people come down there, they're actually coming there for a purpose, not just to stop by and say hi. And it would be easier for people to get to a location on Mission Street Would we get more or less people coming there? Probably. Probably not to pay their bill. We still get the same people paying their bill. But we most likely would get more people stopping by just to say hi, which goes back to what we have. And I mean, we want to be open for the community and want to be there for the community to come tell us what they really need to tell us. But it does spend quite a bit of time and it's just a part of the deal. But at any rate, I'm not opposed to moving to Mission Street and talking to our staff. They're not really interested in moving to Mission Street, mainly because it's right next to the bar. But
I think that would be a benefit, I'm just saying.
well, we can't drink at work, so
But you can right after work.
yeah, I guess. I don't drink, so I wouldn't do that. But
Okay. So you just need direction?
so we would need public comment, obviously.
Yeah, of course.
but what I'm looking for tonight is direction on moving forward with one of the options proposed. If we were to move to Mission Street, we would need to obviously enter into a lease agreement or a purchase agreement for the building, if that's what the board wants. If we're going to replace the existing modular at the treatment plant with something smaller, then we would need to bring back a price, a firm price for that to be purchased and brought in. Or if the board's decision is to keep the existing modular until the construction of the treatment plant's done and then deal with it then. Honestly, that would make the most sense. But yeah, essentially we're looking for some sort of direction to move forward.
Okay. Any other comment or questions?
No, I'm gonna wait till public comment.
Yeah. All right, fair enough. We have public comment?
Kelly, do you have one written public comment?
Oh, yeah, I do have written public comment after in-person.
At the board's discretion, can I make my comment after you make a decision?
We're only providing direction. We're not
I know,
making a decision.
after you give that direction, can I make my comment?
Is it-
You gave the smoking guy a discretion on going over 3 minutes. I asked for discretion that I just be able to make a comment after you made your decision.
You will have to open it to public comment to everyone after you make a decision if you do that.
Correct.
If nobody wants to talk now, they're not going to want to talk afterwards.
It's not necessarily.
Okay, but maybe if the board would consider that, I don't want to make my comment now. I'd like to make it after your decision is made.
Would it apply to every item in the agenda following?
No, it could just be applicable to this one, but you'd have to allow anyone who wants to comment after the direction is done.
Same 3 minutes and all of that?
All of it.
Okay.
Why would we need to comment after you make the decision?
They don't necessarily have to, but I want to do that.
I'm not a one-man band, but
Well,
you're okay with it?
yeah, I'm okay with it, but, because I'm ready to make it.
Fine. Any other public comment?
Can we talk before and after?
You get one comment per item.
Yes.
Apparently so. You get one and after.
Well, you get one.
It's either before
I understand.
or after, on this item only.
Okay. Oh, we're not all writing our names down. So I just have a question. If we don't own the building on Mission, am I correct? Can I ask these questions? Okay, I'm just curious. Do we own the building?
No.
No, but we own where we are now.
No, we don't.
But we own the property, we just don't own the building.
Right.
We pay rent on a building that
Right.
we're sitting on our property.
And we don't own the property that the, temporary housing is on down by the fire station either. We don't own that property.
Okay, so,
But we own the
but
building.
does that have, wait, hold on. Let's keep water, fire. That's all.
Yeah.
I don't
Well, I'm
confuse my
just,
brain. But what I'm saying is we could purchase something and put it there, right? And that's what you're talking, that's one of the options, right? I'm just wondering why we would rent when it would be an investment to be able to go someplace and stay there. That's all when you're making your decision, that's all I'm thinking. I'm like,
Sure.
who owns the building? Why would you be renting right downtown And now that I know by far, that wouldn't be the ideal location, and especially if we were just renting. If we were purchasing it, it still wouldn't be a great location, but, but if we're gonna purchase, if we want to purchase something, why wouldn't we purchase something on something we own or something we could buy? I mean, why waste all the money renting? We're trying to save as much as we can. That's just my opinion.
Thank you. Any other public comment? No. Okay, so what's the
Oh,
direction?
I'm sorry.
Oh, written public
Yeah,
comment.
we have
Okay.
Sorry about that. So, dear board members of the San Miguel Community Service District and the members of the San Miguel community, please accept this letter of opposition to the discussion of moving the district administrative office away from the Machado wastewater facility. We and our members are opposed to the move. Here's why. The district has a net zero cost of not moving. The current costs are accounted for and are budgeted for in the coming year. The district's cost at a new location will increase because of moving costs, increased electricity, water, potential remodel. The board is the steward of the public funds and should be prudent when making decisions that will add cost. There is no evidence of toxic hazards at the Machado wastewater facility. Almost all wastewater facilities throughout the state have administrative office at their treatment centers. There must be another reason for the board pushing this agenda. The Machado wastewater facility meets the needs of the community as well as residents, as well as all the residents know the location and the process for payments. A change would disrupt the community's sense of well-being. When the new building is built, it will be at the Machado wastewater facility, therefore it will not make practical sense to move twice. Suggesting that the district office move to 1271 Mission puts employees in danger from the bar patrons smoking and drinking out while the employees take cash payments from customers, lock up the office at night, or going to the car after work. Exposing C.S.D. employees to drunken harassment and inappropriate comments is not the district's best interest. Also, employees should not be forced to work next to an establishment that sells alcohol, putting their own sobriety at risk. In regards to moving the staff into the fire department, when staff was at the fire department, there was a harassment claim. That environment has not changed. It is not in the best legal interest to expose employees to that atmosphere. When staff was at the fire department, there was many claims of it being a difficult location because the emergency nature of the firehouse environment. To be clear, administrative staff chose a career that does not include life-saving, accident response, emergency response, fire suppression, and safe haven for unwanted babies. The board should not want to expose administrative staff to that type of trauma. The morale of the staff will suffer because of the proposed move. Administrative staff has a close working relationship with the general manager, and the utility staff. Separating them would be counterproductive. Most of the other city and community services have their staff at their treatment facilities for that very reason. Therefore, this decision would decrease efficiency. We urge you not to approve the proposed move. Thank you for your time and attention to this serious matter. Thank you for hearing our words. Rob Adam Perry, Labor Representative, SEIU 620.
Thank you.
And that's the only public comment we got written.
Okay, what direction would you like to give?
I would like to propose to Mr. Kelly that he pursue renting 1471 Mission Street,
1271?
or 1271, yeah.
We can't move to a building that doesn't exist.
Well, okay. You know it.
Unless we're going to the pizza place, I'll do that.
That's actually, I've looked at that, you know, that's actually a really nice little building.
1271?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and I think it's got parking in the back.
No.
It doesn't have parking in the back?
The pizza place?
1271 does not have parking.
Oh, really?
It's the one next to it that has parking in the back.
Yeah.
So we have a motion by Director Davis to,
So the direction that you're proposing is that staff focus on the details and the actual costs of moving to 1271, so you can
Right.
bring that back for further
Right.
discussion, because everything is just really
Right.
theoretical right now.
And also replacing the one that's at the treatment plant now. I've been in some pretty nice construction trailers. They have offices and everything in there, you know?
Yeah, I stayed in one. I
Yeah.
worked for a year in one
Yeah,
here.
yeah. So, but anyway, that's what I would like to see happen and then bring it back.
I would add to that, I'd be interested to know what the cost would be to purchase the existing trailer.
So the existing trailer we have now, I provided a price, they gave us a firm price on that, which was $172,505.
Without, we haven't negotiated that price, is what I'm saying.
I mean, we can negotiate that price, but that is the price that they gave us, so it's not gonna be more than that.
Right.
A new smaller trailer is $154,332, which would be approximately a third the size.
And we're paying how much for the existing trailer? $2,400 a month?
It's $2,200 a month. So my recommendation would be if we're gonna keep something there that's already set up, so it would make sense to purchase that one. If we were to buy a new one, then there would be, the removal cost of the one we have now is already paid for. We paid for that when we got it. But if we buy a new one, then there's setup costs for that. Potentially changes to the ADA parking for that, which really without having a specific model would be hard to tell exactly what that would be.
Right.
But I guess the point there was if we're looking at keeping something there, it would be cheaper in the short term to continue renting it and then determine what we want to do once the treatment plant is done.
Right.
Since we're clearly not building a permanent building.
Okay.
But if you would like, I can see if we can negotiate a better price for the existing building. I just asked him what the cost was if we purchased it right now.
Well, you said that there's no setup cost, it's already there in place, you don't have to worry about utilities and the parking, the ramp, everything is set up for the building to operate, whether there's one person there or 5 people there. So
Right.
nothing changes in that respect. If you get a different one, and even if it's $20,000 less expensive, that's gonna go into the installation cost at the very least.
And as I stated earlier, as we go into construction, we're most likely going to have, aside from any sort of contractor specific trailer, we would have to have some sort of presence there. Having an office there that's big enough to meet with our engineers or meet with other staff there is going to be necessary. The space that we have in the trailer we have right now would serve that purpose, at least in the short term. Long term, assuming that there was only operation staff in there, then that would probably be sufficient for the long term as well, until we change our operational model or build a permanent building.
One thing I guess we haven't really touched on is, once the plant is under construction, what does that do to the access? Do we really want the public coming into an active construction site once it's under construction?
So they would be limited, assuming that we stayed there and our office was still there when we're under construction, they would be still limited to the front parking area, which would only be under construction for a short period of time to put a storm drain through it, and then it would be back to how it is now.
Okay.
So there would be very little, if any, noticeable impact to the public. The rest of the reconfiguration and removal and replacement to the treatment plant is to the north of our existing buildings. And the existing buildings and the existing trailer were potentially going to remain there almost to the end of construction in the first place.
Okay. Okay.
We got a motion.
So we had a motion to get additional costs and information and bring that back to the board for 1271 Mission Street. And we can bring back additional costs or, maybe more firm, lower cost for the purchase of the existing treatment or the trailer.
Okay.
Is there any other specific costs that you would like to see? Or would you like to have a vote?
Just to be clear, it's direction to staff, and you're not approving anything, so you
Yeah.
don't need to take a formal roll call vote. You just
Okay.
need one director's direction and another director's second.
Well, then we have,
I'd like to make a motion to keep everything the way it is currently until we get the treatment plant up into its, final state, and then, we can decide then what's gonna happen. I say currently, it's fine the way it is. I mean, purchasing the building, I mean, I think that's more beneficial than moving. But, I think, if we decided that we're gonna do anything, looking into buying our building, or, and then, as far as, waiting before we make any big decisions on anything, we know what we're gonna be, how we're gonna be at the plant, exactly. Our location, where everything would go, after everything is all developed and, put in, I guess.
okay.
So we're providing direction, so.
So I guess,
There's no action happening right now, so it's just more information coming, and it just depends on where you want to focus that information. I know you don't want to spend time with the information, but if we have two directors that do, then staff needs to bring the information.
Yeah, they want to find out and get it, that's fine.
so I think in direction of Director Beatty's comment, finding out what a firm cost is on the existing trailer will get us to your point. We can get the additional firm information for 1271 mission and bring back essentially both of those as possible action at the next meeting.
Okay.
Right, yeah.
That works for everyone.
Super. Okay.
Public comment. After the fact. I would say to the board, because you can't answer me, that I would look at maybe structuring the comments or the actions of your staff a little bit tighter than you are. You're giving broad strokes, and it allows them to have broad answers, and we seem to not get where we need to go because you're not giving him the specifics. You're not giving him the scope of work that's clear enough to where he can come back with a clear answer to you. It's all over the map. The other thing is, if you're really interested in finding out what's going on with the neighborhood out there at the sewer plant, I would suggest, since we're sending out a flyer for, what were we sending out a flyer for? You guys are sending out a flyer for what?
Vacancy.
What's that?
Vacancy?
For the vacancy, that you attach a comment card to all the neighbors that live in that neighborhood and ask them how they feel about the traffic conditions and the plant, the offices being operated out of there. I've had some comments of some people when I've driven by. Obviously, I was driving by a little fast, and that's why they yelled at me and threw rocks. But they were not happy about people driving back and forth on that street. They felt it was a hazard. They directed it at me at that time because I probably was going over the speed limit. But I'm sure there are others that are doing the same thing. That might be interesting to know.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Item number 10. Oh, sorry.
I get a comment.
Okay.
You're trying to retro turn.
Yeah.
So my question for you specifically is, who owns 1271 Mission Street? Who's benefiting from that?
Pablo, I think.
So that's what I'm asking.
Yeah, he owns half the town,
Well, I'm not, does he or doesn't he? Who specifically owns 1271 Mission Street?
I just told you.
Well, you're guessing.
No.
That's what you said.
Sorry, this is public comment.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other retroactive public comment? All right, we'll move on then. Let's see, item number 10, also continued from September 25th board meeting. Discussion on proposed district facility use policy resolution 2025-40.
This is a continuation from the September meeting. The facility use policy is almost completely the same, but it added in we added in a couple of items that were requested by Director C.S.D, which was revisions incorporating, there's a red line in here. It's the cost recovery mechanism, which is separate from the security deposit to ensure that the district is recovering all costs, as well as a waiver of subrogation. Those two items were specifically requested to be added by Director Sangster, and they have now been added in. Once again, this policy dictates use of district property, which the district has no such policy at this time. There is the property that is not owned by the district but leased, that's right next to the fire station where those signs are up. Nothing is included in here for that because the district doesn't own that property or that sign. So it is not something that, even though the district leases that property, since you don't own the sign on it and it was a pre-existing condition, it's not the district's sign. You don't own it. According to Director Green, it was donated to that property at some point or placed there, but as far as we can tell, the district does not own that sign, so there's no regulation in here related to that.
Okay. Thank you. Comments and questions?
I got a question on those signs and so on. Doesn't the county own so much from the road over?
I don't know what the county owns, I just know that the district does not own it.
Yeah, right, yeah. So, I was just thinking about the fiasco that went down with Director Green one time. He went up there to put in a sign and really got hit hard by some people from the fire station. So,
The signs are outside of the county easement. They're on the Keller property.
yeah, but your rental doesn't take in that entire lot there, the way I understand. Correct me if I'm
The
wrong.
district is leasing the entire 4 parcels that are there. Actually, 5 parcels, because the parcel in the back.
Okay, I got you, okay.
So, just to be clear, that pre-existing sign exists before the district's lease was there. It's not part of the district's lease, it's not mentioned in it, and that's why the